Okay, hello you students, welcome to my video again. So on today's video we are going to start the uh, this exercise 8.1. Yes. So so in the previous video we discussed about the how to find the angles between any two lines. Okay, so and we also discussed the condition for perpendicularity of any two lines and parallelism of any two lines. So by saying that, now today we are going to start the exercise 8.1 of the coordinate geometry, the angles between any two lines, page number 166, 167. So especially this 167 that we'll be starting. So number one, A and B, that one is very trivial, you already know that. So I'm going to start with 1C. Okay, so 1C, it is not it is also not no big deal, but some students might be a little bit confused in this. They might get confused in these questions also, so that's why. So I'm trying to get you through from the very basics one. Okay, so let's go into this. So in 1C, if two lines with equation a1x plus b1y plus c1 equals to 0 and a2x plus b2y plus c2 equals to 0, these are the two lines, and the condition is given these two lines are parallel to each other, then we have to show a1 b2 is equals to a2 b1. So if the equations are given, first of all we have to find the slope. Okay, so you know how to find the slope of that equation. So there are two formulas, and for this in this form of equation, okay, for this form of equation, these equations here, equation of lines, here we have two equations. One is a1x plus b1y plus c1 is equals to 0. So if the equation is in the form of ax plus by plus c equals to 0, in this case we can use to find the slope of that line, we can use the formula m denotes the slope. So minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of y. So in this case we can use this formula. Okay, so in this case we can use this formula. So we are going to use this formula for now. Okay, so here equation of lines, the first line is a1x plus b1y plus c1 equals to 0, which is, suppose this equation 1i. Okay, and the slope of this equation iv, here let the slope of this equation iv m1. Okay, suppose slope m1. So here minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of y. So minus coefficient of x, we have coefficient of x a1 and coefficient of y b1. Okay, so the slope m1 denotes the slope of line I, which is the slope is minus a1 divided by b1. So after this we'll jump into the another equations. So I'm going to rub that, so whatever I've written in the side. So okay, now again we have another equation again, a2x plus b2y plus c equals to 0. This is the one. Yes, let this line I equation slope be m2. So the formula is same, minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of y, which is minus coefficient of x we have a2 and coefficient of y we have b2. Now from the question, the lines are parallel to each other, so in this case you use the condition of parallel. Since line I and double I are parallel to each other, so since the line I and double I are parallel to each other, so we already discussed about the condition for parallelism in line. So use the condition of parallelism. In those conditions, if the lines are parallel to each other, then their slopes are equal, which means m1 must be equals to m2. The slope of line I, which is m1, okay, m1 must be equals to m2. So m1 we have minus a1 by b1, and m2 we have minus a2 by b2, or minus minus cut, you can cross multiply this. A1 b2 is equals to a2 a1, which we have to prove it. Yes, it's proved here. Yes, you got it. Good. Okay, so we can also see in number D, 1D. In 1D, I'm going to show you the up to here. In 1D also, the up to here, up to here, the steps involves the same process, but from this part there will be a little bit changes. Okay, so right now we have applied the condition for parallel, which means the slope of both the lines must be equal. But in the case of if the condition is given perpendicular, in that case the product of the slopes of the lines must be equals to -1. Okay, so let's go into number 1D. Okay, the 1D. The 1D, there will be a slightly modification in the equation. This is 1D. If two lines with equation, the equation is same, are now instead of parallel, perpendicular. So if the lines are perpendicular to each other, so that now we have to show here a1 a2 a1 a2 plus b1 b2 equals to 0. Now in this case we have to show this. So the whole process right up to here, it is the same process. Since line I and double I are now perpendicular, perpendicular to each other, now we use the condition for perpendicularity. So in perpendicular case, the slope of line, the product of the slope of line, both line will be equals to -1. Let's see, m1 we have minus a1 by b1, and m2 minus a2 by b2. b2, yes, b2. Okay, minus minus plus a1 a2 divided by b1 b2 -1. Or now if further simplify this, is equals to minus b1 b2. Now on further simplification, there is no place left here, so I'm going to move this place up to here. So let's move this right hand side to the left hand side. This becomes a1 a2 plus b1 b2 equals to 0, which is we have to prove. Yes, you got it. Very easy. So I hope you understand this. So without any further delay, if you haven't finished this, just take a screenshot. Okay, so yes, this might be a trivial question, but I do have to explain it because not every students are on the same level. Okay, so after this I'm going to move into the number 2 question. Okay, find the acute angles, find the obtuse angles, both the. So first of all, before starting that, I'm going to show something. Okay, so I'm going to rub that. Okay, one number. Okay, you can see in the board. So slope of any line, you can find the slope of any line by by two methods. Okay, one method is just slope. This m represents the slope of the line. Okay, so m equals to minus, use this formula, minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of y. So in order to use this formula, you have to express the line, the equation of line, in this form: ax plus by plus c equals to 0. Only after expressing the line in the form of this, then you can only use this formula. First you have to express that line in the form of this, then only you can use this formula. So this is one way. So another way is you just have to represent, you just have to express this some equation of line in the form of slope intercept form. We call it y equals to mx plus c. So if you are able to change that equation of line into the form of y equals to mx plus c, now then the whatever value that m represents there denotes the slope of that line. Okay, so I'll try to make you understand with an example. So either way, either you do by this method or you do by this method, the resultant answer will be the same. Okay, the slope will be the same, and you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so let's go into this. So first, if you want to do by this method, let's take this line. We have 3x minus y plus 2 is equals to 0. So it is already in the form of ax plus by plus c equals to 0. This is already in the form of ax plus by plus c equals to 0. Okay, so in this case you can use formula slope equals to slope m equals to minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of y. So we have coefficient of x 3 and coefficient of y nothing, means 1. Here is minus 1. Minus 1 is the coefficient of y there. So minus minus cancel. Now the remaining is 3. So we have this 3 represents the slope of this line. Now if you want to if you want to find the slope of this line by this method, you can also use that. Let's take the same line. Let's see, 3x minus y plus 2 equals to 0 is the same line. So if you want to express this line in slope intercept form, try to make y variable here alone. Okay, suppose 3x minus y plus 2 equals to 0. Now try to make y positive. So here is the y negative. Let's move minus y to the other side. It becomes 3x plus 2 is equals to positive y. So y is alone here. Y is equals to 3x plus 2. Now you compare this with this. So you will get the value of m here 3 and c here 2. So whatever the value of m represents here denotes the slope of this line. Y equals to 3x plus 2, which means m we have 3. So 3 represents the slope of this line, which is same answer. Yes, you will get the identical answer. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, so whatever the circumstances suits you at that time. Suppose some lines are already expressed in the form of y equals to mx plus c. So in that case you can use this method, or some line are in the form of this ax plus by plus c equals to 0. In that case you can use the formula m equals to minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of y. So without further delay, now I'm going to start this 2 and 3. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to rub this. This is only to make you understand. Okay. Okay, now we'll be starting number 2. So in number 2, so different any two lines will be given there. Okay, so in that case, we have to find the slope of both lines. One represented by m1, another represented by m2. So in that case, after finding the slope of both lines, then we have to use this formula theta. Theta represents the angle. Okay, so theta inverse, we will use the formula plus minus m1 minus m2. After simplification of this, if you take the positive sign, if the value inside this becomes positive, that will gives you the acute angle. If the value inside this is negative, that will give you the obtuse angle. Okay, so let's try to explain with this with an example by solving this sample. Okay, now 2a. So in 2a you can see two lines. Okay, y minus 2 minus root 3x is equals to 5. Okay, try to make, I would like to use the y equals to mx plus c. Y equals to mx plus c here. Okay, so y is already here. I'm going to move this to the other side. It becomes positive 2 minus root 3 x. 5 is already there. Suppose this is line I. Slope. Now slope. Let line I slope be m1. So comparing with y equals to mx plus c, you will get the value of m here 2 minus root 3. Okay, so another line we have y is equals to 2 plus root 3 bracket x plus 8. So this is line 2, and we don't have to do anything here because it is already in the form of y equals to mx plus c. When you compare, slope of this line be m2. So slope will be 2 plus root 3. If you compare this with this, the value of m, we will get 2 plus root 3. Now after this, we know, use the formula theta equals to tan inverse plus minus m1 minus m2 divided by 1 plus m1 m2. So tan inverse plus minus m1, we have m1 yes, 2 minus root 3 minus m2, we have 2 plus root 3 divided by 1 plus m1 2 minus root 3 m2 2 plus root 3 is equals to tan inverse plus minus 2 minus root 3. Now open the bracket with minus sign, minus 2 minus root 3. So 1 plus, it will go into the form of a square minus b square. Now 2 square minus root 3 square whole square, a tan inverse plus minus. Now you got the whatever that can be cancelled. That will becomes minus root 3 minus 2 root 3, and the denominator becomes 2 square. That will be 2 square 4 plus 1 5 minus this root get cancelled here. It's 3 tan inverse plus minus 2 root 3 divided by 2. 5 minus 3 2. Now here remaining will be 2 to cancel, plus minus root 3. Okay, so you can see here in this case, if you take the positive sign, then the internal value will be negative. So if the internal component if it is in negative sign, it will give you obtuse angle. So for number 2 answer, we will be needing the acute angle. For that, we will be needing the positive value. So if you take the positive here, so depending upon these circumstances you just have to take positive or negative. So if in this case if you take the positive, this negative sign will not, it will not change, so it will be negative as it is always. So in this case you have to take negative sign, because negative negative it will becomes positive. So this positive value will give you the acute angle. Now, so there is no much space there, so I'm going to use here. Now take negative sign for acute angle. Okay, for only acute angle, take negative sign. Theta equals to tan inverse minus root 3. So minus minus, that will becomes tan inverse minus minus plus root 3, which is 60 degree. If you want to find the obtuse angle, this is what you do is you just take the positive sign. This negative root 3 will be same as it is, and if you use the calculator, you will be given not this 60 degree, you will be given minus 60 degree. Minus 60 degree means you have to do here 180 minus 60. Minus, if the degree is given in minus, doesn't mean that to write the answers in minus degree. It doesn't mean that you have to write these angles in minus degree. It means that you have to write that angle subtracting with 180 degree, subtracting from 180 degree. Okay, so if the angles if you use the calculator and the angles is given in minus degree, so in that case you just subtract that angle from 180 degree. Okay, that is meant by the obtuse angle. Minus means if the angle is given in minus, then that means it is obtuse angle. So while writing the angles, you should not write that in minus sign, you just subtract that angle from 180 degree. So whatever comes there, that will be the obtuse angle in that case. Okay, after finishing 2a, I'll go to the 2b number. Okay, so the formula is same. Okay, so this is how you do. So 2a, b and d, I'll do all. First you have to find the slope. The idea is first you have to find the slope. After finding the slope, you just use this formula, and the negative value gives obtuse angle and the positive value gives acute angle. Yes. Okay, let's move on to the next problem. Okay, let's move on to number 2b. Okay, so in number 2b, two lines are 2x plus 4y. 2x plus 4y is equals to 7, and another line x plus 2y is equals to 3. So we have two lines here, and if you want to use the slope intercept form also, okay, you can do that, but right now I'm going to use the same not slope intercept form. I'm going to use that minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of y. So I'll try to express this in the form of x plus by plus c equals to 0. Now from I we have 2x plus 4y is equals to 7, or you can write it 2x plus 4y minus 7 equals to 0, because these two terms are already in the left hand side. It does not matter, but not to make you more confused, so I have put this constant term also in the left hand side. So by doing so, you will not be more confused in this. Okay, now this is from I, so this is in the form of ax plus by plus c equals to 0. So you can write here slope, that is m1 minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of y is equals to minus coefficient of x we have 2 and coefficient of y we have 4, which is minus 1 by 2. So similarly from double I, line double I, we have given x plus 2y is equals to 3. Let's move to the left hand side, minus 3 equals to 0. So here slope will be m2 minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of y minus coefficient of x we have here 1 and coefficient of y we have here 2. So in both cases the slope are same. So since the slope are same, the lines are parallel, which means 0 degree. You can also write 0 degree. So if you want to use in this case, if you want to use that formula also, you can use that. Okay, we know if you use this formula, then you will remember the formula. Okay, this in this case I'll just suggest you use the formula so you can remember the formula easily. So tan inverse plus minus m1 we have minus 1 by 2 minus 1 by 2. So 1 plus 1 by 2 1 by 2. So replace the value tan inverse. So the upper part will be 1 by 2 minus 1 by 2. The upper part will be 0. 1 plus 1 by 4 minus plus. So if you want to, you can directly use calculator. Okay, this will be plus minus 0. Tan inverse 0 means this is 0. Okay, very easy. So you can either do by this method minus coefficient of x, or you can just do the way that I've done in number 2a, y equals to mx plus c. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, after finishing this 2b, let's move on to the 2d. Okay, I'll move on to the 2d. Okay, if you have finished this, I'm going to rub it. Okay, let's move on to the number 2d. So 2d, you know, this one I'll be needing this. Okay, that's why. Okay, so let's be this be in 2d number x cos alpha plus y sin alpha is equals to p. Let's this be line I and this be line double I. So from line I we can write x cos alpha plus y sin alpha equals to p, or x cos alpha plus y sin alpha minus p equals to 0. Okay, now you can use the slope form. Slope equals to, use the formula, minus coefficient of x. Coefficient of x we have cos alpha, and coefficient of y. Coefficient of y we have sin alpha. Okay, finished. Now from the double I we have x sin alpha minus y sin alpha is equals to q. Or you can write x sin alpha minus y sin alpha minus q equals to 0. Now similar in the same way. So coefficient of x we have here sin alpha minus sin alpha. Okay, and coefficient of y we have minus sin. Wait. I have written the equations in the wrong way. Sin alpha. This is cos alpha. Okay, cos alpha. So some mistake here. So here in the denominator, coefficient of y will be minus cos alpha. Minus get cancelled. The remaining is sin alpha by cos alpha. So we have m1 cos alpha by sin alpha minus cos alpha by sin alpha, and we have m2 sin alpha by cos alpha. So you just replace the value. The formula is same, you just replace the value. So m1 we have minus cos alpha divided by sin alpha, minus m2 we have sin alpha by cos alpha divided by 1 plus m1 we have minus cos alpha by sin alpha, and m2 sin alpha by cos alpha. So let the upper part, the numerator part, let it be as it is. Okay, so I'm not gonna simplify because I already know the results, so that will be just be the waste of time. Okay, so sine alpha you can cut here, cancel, and cos alpha you can cancel there, and the remaining from this there will be minus 1 minus 1. So this will be tan inverse plus minus cos alpha by sine alpha minus sine alpha by cos alpha. If you find this very tedious, you can directly write this is cos by sine. You can directly write cot alpha and sine by cos, tan alpha. Very tedious. Okay, it's only going to take its place. Now 1 minus 1 you can write here 0. So something by 0 means you'll get infinity. So tan inverse will be infinity in 90 degree. So this is the answer. Okay, after finding this, let's move on to the number 3c. Okay, so in 3c we'll be finding obtuse angle. Yes, definitely obtuse angle. Okay, without further delay, I would like to remove this. I would like to rub this, and I'm going to start 3c and d. Okay. Okay, in 3c you can see here y equals to root 3x plus 8. It is already in the form of y equals to mx plus c. Okay, so there will be no trouble in finding the slope in this. Okay, so slope, let's slope I represent the slope of the let m1 represent the slope of line I. So m1 slope of line I will be root 3. Okay, and m2 for this is now m2. You can write from double I root 3x minus y plus 5 is equals to 0. Or this is already in the form of ax minus ax plus by plus 5 equals to 0 plus c equals to 0. You can either use that formula, or you can simply you move this y to the other side. It will becomes y equals to root 3x plus 5. Okay, so here also you can see it is in the form of y equals to mx plus c. So m2 slope of line double I, which is root 3. Here also root 3. Now we can use the formula. We know tan inverse theta equals to tan inverse plus minus m1 minus m2 divided by 1 plus m1 m2, or theta equals to tan inverse. So plus minus m1 we have root 3 minus root 3. We have 1 plus root 3 or theta equals to tan inverse. So the upper part will be 0 plus minus 0 by 1 plus 3. So 0 by something means that is 0, which is tan inverse 0 is 0 degree, which is the answer. So yes, so in the textbook the answer is wrong there, so you can also rectify the answer and change that answer into 0 degree. Okay, So without further delay, let's move on to number 3D. Okay, 3D number. Okay, so in 3D, so one equation is 3x plus 2y equals to 1. Okay, in this case I'm going to write here 3x plus 2y plus 2y equals to 1. I'm going to write here 3x plus 2y minus 1 equals to 0. Equation I. And another we have 2x plus 3y plus 7. Another line we have this. It is already in the form of x plus by plus c equals to 0. So 1 and 2 equation of line. Now m1 slope of line I minus coefficient of x divided by coefficient of y, which is minus coefficient of x in line I. Coefficient of x is 3 and coefficient of y is 2. Okay, so similarly in m2 slope m2 slope of line double R. Okay, so m2 is the slope of line double R. So here also you use the same formula, coefficient of x divided by coefficient of y. So minus coefficient of x we have here 3 minus 3 and coefficient of y we have there 2. Okay, did I okay. So here coefficient of x is 2 and coefficient of y is 3. Yes, okay. So in this case, yes, in this case you just we know theta equals to tan inverse plus minus m1 minus m2. So how many times we have used this formula? So the more you use this formula, the more you will get used to it. The more you will get used to it. It's easy to remember. You will not forget this formula frequently. Okay, m1 we have minus 3 by 2, and m2 we have minus 2 by 3. Okay, so 1 plus m1 we have minus 3 by 2, and m2 we have minus 2 by 3. Yes, okay. So what can be done in this case? Okay, tan inverse you can directly calculate it with the help of calculate this with the help of using calculator. If you use the calculator directly, the numerator part will be, you can use directly. Okay, if you calculate it directly, the upper part will be minus 5 by 6 and the numerator part will be, you can use this 2 to cancel, 3 to cancel, 1, that will be 2. Okay, so again if you calculate this, it will becomes plus minus, yes, plus minus minus 5 by 12. So in this case you will be needing negative, because you have been asked to find the obtuse angle. So in this case you just take the negative sign. Okay, to take negative sign, what you have to do to make this component is already in the negative sign, so you can take positive, we get theta equals to tan inverse minus 5 by 12. So here depending on the inner content, and depending on the which angle we have to find, either obtuse angle or acute angle. So in that case you should take positive or negative. So if you take, we have been asked to find the obtuse angle, and here the inner content, it is in negative sign. If you take the negative sign, it will become positive, because minus multiply minus, it will be positive. So positive will not give you the obtuse angle, okay, it will give you the acute angle. So we will be needing the acute angle, obtuse angle, that's why. So here is already negative, so we are just taking this positive sign, and this positive sign does not change the sign, which is already within the content of this value. So tan inverse minus 5 by root 12. If you calculate this in the calculator, tan inverse 5 by 12. If you calculate this in your calculator, answer will be like this: minus 22.61 and something like this kind of degree. So this minus degree doesn't mean that you have to write this answer, okay? So don't represent answer in minus. What you do is you have to subtract this angle 22.61 from 180 degree. If you subtract this from 180 degree, subtract 180 minus 22.61, 180 minus 22.61, this minus sign indicates that you have to subtract this angle from 180 degree. So if I subtract this angle from 180 degree, here will be the answer 157.38 degree. So in the textbook's answer is wrong. You also need to rectify that answer, okay? 157.38. This is the actual answer for that question. Okay, so without further delay, let's move on to the okay, this one, it's already gotten too much lengthy, this video, okay? So we'll be starting the next the next problems in the next video also. So until then, I'd like to end this video here, and until then, take care, bye, and see you. God bless. Yes.